because I do 1,300 crunches and sit-ups 4 times a week.
What's a dose? Can you translate for us?
Winner of the gold medal and the champion golfer of the year is Ernie Els.
Hello and welcome to the Golf Go Track.
Golf Go Track.
I don't know if Terence is a
gentlemen and ladies, boys and girls, shankers and ringers. Did you guys hear that intro music, or was that only playing on my side?
Super
I
awkward.
think it was just for your enjoyment, G-Bag.
Oh, I'm so disappointed. I had the intro music to our podcast playing. That's why it was like suspenseful silence.
No, we were
so
all just watching
me
you.
listening to it.
We were watching you. I was like, is this like some sort of a joke? Like, is Terence waiting for one of us to introduce this?
Is he having a petit mal? My wife accuses me of having petit mals all the time. So
Jacques had his moment, but he dropped it by saying, "Welcome to the Golf Go Track."
Welcome to the Golf Go Track. Try to have a crack at it.
You only get one shot at holding the Olympic torch, but if you drop it, that's it.
I basically started a fault fire by dropping that Olympic torch.
Anyway, I see now that it was on preview, not on live. So I was the only one listening to it. But good thing our listeners will get the edited version. Guys, welcome to the Goat Track, the podcast about golf and golf adjacent stuff. Mostly from Africa. It is a full tee box today. A very quick go around. We have Sunny. Hello, Sunny. How are you?
Thank you, T-Bag. Thanks for having me under my new alias. It's good to be here.
Very nice to have you with us, JDV.
What's up?
And now a long-time friend of the show, returning with some hot hand picks, no doubt. It's Nick Tatham. Hello, Taki. Good evening.
Hello, guys. Thank you for having me back on. It's been a while, but yeah, looking through those golf champs names, trying to pick my team for the Olympics. It's pretty dire out there, guys. I'm not going to lie.
Guys, it is the Olympic event that nobody is asking for, but we are here to talk about it. JDV, we had thrown out the discussion of the venue for the Olympics, or the venue for the golf, that is, between yourself and I. And while I was doing a bit of research on that venue, I noticed that I didn't realize golf had actually been at the Olympics back in the 1900s. I think they had it twice, 1904, and then they canned it. And then made its way back in 2016 at the Rio Olympics with Justin Rose. The famous Zika Olympics, followed by the coronavirus Olympics of Tokyo. So it feels like this is probably the first go-around for golf. JDV, what can you tell us about Le Golf National, the venue for the Olympic golf?
Well, firstly, I'd just like to say you'd be pleased to know that not a single athlete that participated in Rio actually got Zika. The half the field of golfers who used that as their excuse not to come. Very, very cautious approach. But I think we've all found out pretty much afterwards that it was very much a ruse for them not to come with a packed schedule at the time. But good to see most of the big names turning out for this Olympics. And a lot of the guys playing Le Golf National, certainly not for their first time. I think everyone knows the course from the Ryder Cup, which the Europeans won. And I think the Americans hadn't done their homework when they came to that Ryder Cup. Guys were bombing driver off the tee box into the water on the first. So the other one obviously hosts or has been hosting the French Open on the DP World Tour for the last couple of years now. So I think quite a lot of the Europeans and guys on the DP World Tour, certainly some of the South Africans and the Asian players have played Le Golf National in the regular season. It's sort of styled like links. But certainly not natural links. But without any of the sort of run-ups. It's like a combination of links golf and target golf. I think everyone will know Le Golf National well because there's a lot of water in play on most holes. Tight fairways, reasonably thick rough. They've got some pot bunkers around there. Certainly not an easy course. It is difficult. So, and it's not a bomber's paradise. It's short and penal. So I think it's going to reward accuracy over distance. But obviously, if you've got distance and accuracy, then that's never a bad thing. I was trying to think about some sort of a comp for Le Golf National in South Africa, and I might get taken down for this take, but my thought was probably like Ibotsi. It's like a man-made links, but not really a links, with some target golf and quite a lot of water. So that was having a sort of look at the flyovers, and it gave me a couple of Ibotsi vibes.
I think that's probably a fair call. So the little bit of homework that I did on Le Golf National was basically to discover that this is basically the headquarters of golf in France. So I think sometime back in the 80s, the sort of French Golf Federation said, we need like a proper headquarters and venue, and part of that has to be like practice facilities. It was where they were going to have their like golf academies, and part of that was they wanted to build at least like one proper like championship golf course. So a bit of research in the background. Apparently there was a lot of like politics involved. They had to kind of get like the prime minister to basically like sign off on funding it, because French people not that into golf. So they obviously had to like hide it somewhere in the national sports budget back in the 80s. The architect who built the golf course said he was looking for the like flattest piece of land that he could find, because he wasn't of the belief that that should be looking for the best land for golf, like rolling dunes. He wanted to basically build something completely artificial. And I think a lot of people make the comp to like TPC Sawgrass in that way, where it's got a lot of it's built to host events. It's got a lot of like stadium type features. It's got huge big mounds, hell of a lot of water, and I mean, I think it delivered in terms of entertainment for the Ryder Cup and a couple of the French Opens that I've watched. It's probably not guys' favorite type of golf, but it delivers on the entertainment side. And your comp to Ibotsi is quite an interesting one, because I found this article, JDV, which was written by like a golfer who played at Le Golf National just before the Ryder Cup, and he wrote down like his like blow by blow of his round. He's apparently like a 19 handicapper, and so what they did is they built a 36 two golf courses, and then they built like a short course, like a 9-hole course, and they gave them the very original names of translated to English, the albatross course, the eagle course, and the birdie course. Which is hell of original for the French. So the primary course that they'll be playing is called La Albatross. And the guy writes here that is very optimistically named for my high handicap. And it also has an ocean of water. On the walk from the clubhouse, it is clear that I do not have enough balls in my bag. And the one I just purchased with the Ryder Cup emblem on it that I paid for through the roof is definitely not long for this world, not the dry part of it anyway. So it's actually quite a funny account of his blow by blow. But he does mention that he said the 17th hole apparently was built on an old rubbish dump, and he said it's one of the worst holes he's seen. So maybe that ties in with your Ibotsi take.
Yeah, I think that's...
Or not. Who knows?
No, I don't know if you... I was like, it definitely does. I mean, Ibotsi was on a mine dump, so maybe an ordinary dump, mine dump, I can see the comparison.
Yeah. Hoff, I think we're gonna debate at some point, whether or not we think this event should even exist at the Olympics. So, what direction do you guys want to go here? I'm kind of, I think we've got a lot of Olympics chats. I'm very happy for us to do our picks. But I don't, guys, if you're tuning in to get like in-depth picks for like we did for the Open and blow by blow of every hole in the course, you're definitely in the wrong place.
T,
but yeah, I think there's there's a lot to discuss on the golf side and whether it should be at the Olympics at all.
Well, maybe before we start on the picks, I can just do a quick little look back. You mentioned the first two times that the Olympics were, that golf was in the Olympics, and you were 100% right. So maybe a quick little dive into the history of the event. So the first one was 1900, which was the Paris Olympics. And Jacques, you'll know these names well. Gold was won by Charles Sands of the United States.
Yeah, Charles,
and
remember him.
silver, Walter Rutherford of Team GB and David Robertson of GB. And that was followed by 1904 in St. Louis or St. Louis, depending on which part of the world you come from. And that was won by the great George Lyon of Canada while it was still part of GB, with a good couple of Americans behind it. And there were actually a couple of editions planned for the years that followed, but for some reason they got cancelled. So a big break between 1904 and the 2016 Zika Olympics in Brazil. And this will be the first non-viral Olympic golf tournament to take place, considering that the second one was in the 2020 Olympics held in 2021 in Tokyo, which had no fans because of COVID. So at least there's no excuses for Rory McIlroy this time. He missed it because of Zika the first time and COVID the second time. So it's good to see him walking around the golf course with his big mate Shane Lowry. So it's going to be interesting to see how he does.
Hoff, I don't think it's going to be completely non-viral, and maybe it might be a bit bacterial, this one, if we look at the pollution levels in that the Seine River of theirs. I mean, if they're watering the fairways with that river, I think Oaks could have some doozy guts.
Yeah, I think they're going to need that same sign that San Lemire has on their first tee that says, "Please don't lick your balls," just to make sure that guys don't get sick. But yeah, so it's been a big break between inningses at the Olympics for golf, and quite interestingly, did a little bit of a dive into how sports in general, but golf in this case, got into the Olympics. So they managed to get their confirmation in 2009. And it's quite an interesting process because you've essentially got to have a non-governmental body, that international body that runs your sport. That's the first tick box before you then make your application to the Olympic Committee. But one of the interesting things that I read here was that one of the principles of the Olympic Charter states that for a sport to get in, it's got to be widely practiced by men in at least 75 countries and on 4 continents, and by women in no fewer than 40 countries and on 3 continents. And it's got to sort of bring something good to the Olympic brand and image and that kind of stuff. So there's obviously a whole lot of other things that they had to qualify with. But that was sort of one of the things that stood out as being quite interesting. And yeah, I think we'll get into the debate later, T, after we've done our picks. But it's interesting that they decided to go with a stroke play format when there were so many good avenues available to them. But yeah, we'll dive into that. But yeah, pretty interesting on how golf got into there, and obviously we had some interesting medalists at 2016 and the second one. I mean, we had a first golf medal for the Slovakian South African Rory Sabatini, and bronze went to Chinese Taipei of I think his name's Cheng or something like that. So yeah, pretty interesting medalists. So might have some out there medalists coming up.
Just to check, I'm pretty sure Rory played in the Tokyo Olympics.
Oh, did he?
Yeah.
Okay. So
yeah,
it was he just got Zika
playoff
in 2016.
Yeah, he got Zika phobia. He was in the playoff for the bronze medal. I think there were like 6 Oaks in that playoff. It was actually probably the only interesting part about that whole golf at the Olympics.
And he lost out to Cheng Sung Pan of Chinese Taipei.
Yeah.
CT Pan.
It was a pretty sick playoff. Yeah. It was like last man standing.
But I mean, how's that for a podium at 2020? I mean, it couldn't get more boring than this. Bronze, CT Pan, Chinese Taipei. Silver, Rory Sabatini, Slovakia, which is a joke. And then the most exciting player on the face of earth from the United States, Xander Schauffele. I mean, let's hope for better things in this Olympics.
Yeah, God help us. Just out of interest, Hoff, do you know how many different countries competed in the 1904 golf Olympics?
I'll have to Wikipedia that.
Say 6.
Well, no, I'm actually asking because I've just Wikipedia'd it now. I'm asking you guys, how many countries do you think there were?
10.
8.
There were 2 countries, guys. There were 2 countries that were represented in the golf Olympics. And they had a team competition, believe it or not. So the USA won gold, silver, and bronze in the team competition because they had like 5 teams.
Classic.
Shout out to Canada who didn't get on the podium, even though there were only 2 countries. I'm guessing it's because none of the Oaks wanted to travel to like North America. But yeah, it's kind of come a long way since then. But it is interesting that they did have a team component back then, which is, I think, something that guys have been shouting for now, which we can get into. Okay, guys, let's dive into 2 picks. Obviously, the field is small. Guys, I must say, I did look up last night how players qualified for this field, and I don't know if you guys went and read that, but honestly, probably some of the most confusing criteria that I've ever read in my life. Felt like I was back in my stats lectures at varsity. Hell of a confusing way to put like a field together, but evidently they had their own like ranking system, essentially their own world golf kind of ranking system, and they've obviously fudged it in a way that it's sort of like kind of very representative. So it's a limited field. There's 60 players. And I just also want to shout out, obviously there is, we're probably going to be only doing our picks on the men's side, but there is obviously a ladies competition as well. And same for that field. It's the sort of 60 players. Probably when you guys are looking at doing your picks, you will recognize most of the names up to around about number 40 or 41. And then after that, it starts getting a little bit interesting. There's 1 or 2 names you might recognize, and quite a few that I've never seen before in my life. But we are going to go, we're going to have a very similar format to what we've done previously. So we're going to try and give you guys a couple of picks across the board, because to make up 100 in this Golf Champs is easily the most challenging task that I've ever had. You can't just pick a rank outsider and one of the 3 of the top guys. You've almost got to do it the other way around. You can probably pick one top guy, and then you've got to pick sort of 1 or 2 guys in the 30s and 40s. JDV, it looks like you're stuck with the unenviable task of picking the guys from rank 41 to 60. So very interested to hear what you've come up with.
Thanks, T. To be honest, luckily we only had to sort of look at 3 players, because otherwise I could have been scratching and probably spending my entire workday researching names I'd never heard before. But I mean, the one obviously household name here is Joel Gerbach. Joel Gerbach, guys know him? Great golfer. But I did want to start off by mentioning someone who's
how
not
did
in
he
the
qualify? Can you run us through Joel's qualification process?
Just now, Terence. I've saved that for the end. It's super interesting.
Okay, thanks.
But
that's one for the sickos.
I did want to. What is super interesting is someone who qualified at part of the mass statistics, but didn't actually get the opportunity, and that's Joost Luiten from the Netherlands. So for those of you who don't know, Joost Luiten did qualify as one of the players to go from Netherlands, but Netherlands have their internal sort of Olympic committee, and they sort of sat around and determined if you're not going to make the top 8, you're not allowed to go to the Olympics, or they just say, sorry, we're not going to send you to the Olympics as the Netherlands. Bearing in mind half what you've just said, CT Pan and Rory Sabatini both won medals, and they were like way outside the top 200, I think, when they won those medals. So someone like Joost Luiten, who's a reasonably good player on the DP World Tour, it's not out of the realm of possibility that guy was going to win a medal. But anyway, the Netherlands said, sorry, Just, we don't think you're going to come in the top 8, not even win a medal, top 8. You're not going to get there out of a 60-man field, and said he couldn't go. So he took the guys to court in Netherlands, the committee, and won his court case. But by the time he won his court case, they'd already awarded his spot to someone else. So then there was a plea to say, well, can't we just make the field 61 people? And they said, no, sorry, we can't make it 61. You can be the first reserve. So even though you've won your court case, you can only join if someone drops out. And sorry, and I'm about to ruin our family rating because I want to read some of his quotes because they're pretty flipping classic. So this is what he said when he was interviewed about it after Royal Troon. He said, I'm the one who is out. I'm the one who's fucked, said Luton after shooting 76 at Royal Troon in the second round. I'm over it now. I spent a lot of money on a court case to win it, and then you win it, and they say, fuck it, you're still not going because someone else fucked up. That's the annoying thing. It's mistake after mistake after mistake, and no one wants to own up, and nobody wants to make it right. And now I'm in a position where I don't know what to do. This is what he said. Then he said, this can't be right. He said, I was entered before the deadline. The IGF gave my spot away, even though I notified them not to give it away because I'm going to court. They say they followed the protocol. They all point to each other. They're just a bunch of amateurs. They think they can run a professional golf event, but you can see it's the Olympics. It's run by amateurs. Asked what should be done to ensure it doesn't happen again, he said, I think they should make it an amateur event, which I'm actually I've got strong opinions on that as well, but says, I think they should make it an amateur event. If you let amateurs decide for professional golfers, then you get some weird rulings and whatever. That's what happened in Holland with me. We've got a bunch of amateurs making the rules for professional golf events. That's the way the Olympics started, and that's the way it should be. Then he said, I could take them to court again, but then you spend another $100,000 and you don't know if you're going to win. And you don't know if you're going to win for an event that you don't even get paid for. I spent $20,000 and I'm done with it. It's the Olympics, but with all the stuff that's going on, it's just lost some of what's the word, glamour. I don't know what I'd do if I get the call right now. I'm happy not to play. I'm quite done with it. I'm quite happy when I'm in Mallorca and I'm in the pool. So that's Mr. Used Leighton. So clearly taking it in his stride. So anyway,
Yeah,
if he had been in the field, if he had been in the field, which he should have been for all intents and purposes, he would have been my absolute top pick from that 40 to 60. But anyway, with that little sidebar being said, I don't know if there's any reactions to that, if you guys agree with what he said or you think he's a bit offsides.
So I was thinking a bit about the Olympics in general, and guys talking about this event is a bit of a joke because there's so many very strong players who aren't there, who aren't being represented. But if you think about the way that countries go about sending their athletes to the Olympics, I mean, the Olympics is basically about your country. It's not about individual titles and that. Of course, those get added up, but at the end of the day, there's a medal table, and it's about your country. And I don't know. I'd be interested to get Taki's perspective on this. But if you look at like the US as an example, in like track and field, I mean, they have intense qualification and trials to see if you're going to make the Olympic team. So the guys who running in the 100-meter track final, or let's just say the heats or whatever, those are not the fastest. However many guys they start with, I'm guessing 32 or 64 guys in the world. Like, that's who has been sent as like representatives basically from their country, because there's probably 10 American guys who faster than like the bottom 10 in that field. And I think for the golf, you've got to see it in the same light. I think countries have like they've had a qualification process. We can argue whether we think they've all got their strongest players there, but look, so that's just the one part of it, is that I think you need to view this Olympic golf in terms of how the rest of the Olympic fields are made up, because there's a lot of athletes who, in their own right, are like strong athletes who would probably never ordinarily have gotten to the Olympics. And a good example of that is probably Rory Sabatini, who probably would have never been sent from South Africa, and then did the old switcheroo to a country that he could go from. in US Leighton's case, like it's a tough because he obviously qualified legitimately, and there weren't any other like Dutch golfers who were ahead of him. I'm assuming there aren't any other Dutch golfers in the
They didn't
field.
send, yeah. They didn't send either.
Yeah. So I mean, I think it's kind of bullshit, and like, I mean, I think he's quite rightfully like quite pissed off about the whole thing. Also, it's like not a home Olympics for the Dutch, but I mean, it's like it's in their backyard, you know. So I'm sure he would have, you know, I'm sure he's played that golf course a lot. I'm sure I 100% agree. He's exactly the sort of guy who could have snuck onto the podium. So yeah, I think he's quite right to be bitter.
Yeah, I'm with you there.
But it's the same as
like 100%.
Sorry, carry on, Taki.
Yeah, I was just saying that like the golf at the Olympic Games has got to be seen as a sort of outlying event in the golfing world completely. It's obviously something that has got to be seen as not necessarily an exhibition, but it is almost an exhibition at the end of the day in terms of the guys that are there, who's representing which country, how they get picked. Because yeah, from a qualification perspective, America have got Wyndham Clark there, who I don't think is necessarily is he the fourth highest ranked American at the moment? I don't know. So like they it looks like they sort of pick and choose as well from a selection perspective. Um, so like it's a case of just seeing the event as it is. You're playing for a gold medal and you're representing your country. I know we're going to get into the debates about the format and everything like that, and how it could be a far more entertaining spectacle. But we'll get into that. But I think that like the main takeaway for me is the fact that the event shouldn't be seen as a regular golf event.
Yeah, I think that's probably where I land as well. And that's why maybe, you know, it shouldn't have the format that it does. But let's try and let's try and bang out our picks that we've done, and then we can maybe dive into some of those takes on the format and that. So JDV, do you want to carry on there?
Yeah, sorry, I was going down the rabbit hole. I'm literally on Joel Gerbeck's, like he's got his own golf website, so that's pretty sweet. But so my 3 picks for 41 to 60, I've taken the Asian John Daly, as apparently he's known on his Wikipedia page, is Kiridak Epibarnrat. He is number 52 in the golf rankings on Golf Champs. He's also on Data Golf ranked number 357. I think it's tough because when you think about the Olympics, you know, you think about those Roman gods and the wrestlers and the gymnasts, and then you see Epibarnrat, and I think he's not exactly like what you would think of like an Olympian. He is.
Well, maybe you can be
5 foot.
maybe you can be friends with the 10-meter air rifle guys.
I was about to say that is that's probably where he's squaring off with in terms of the Olympian bod. Not trying to shame him or anything, but I mean he's 5'8" and 104 kgs, and I think they've been pretty kind to him on his Wikipedia page. Look, not to say nothing of that, I've seen some of the DP World Tour stuff. He's got some incredible skills. He obviously is an amazing golfer. He's won a lot on the DP World Tour. So he's not like an unknown entity like my friend old Joel. So I think Epibarnrat's not a bad call for a shortest course. I mean, if you're looking at his sort of stats on Data Golf, he's very good at putting. He's very good at driving accuracy. Not great around the green and approach, and not sort of below average driving distance. But I don't think driving distance is going to be huge. I think putting and driving accuracy, 40 to 60 player, Epibarnrat, number 1. Or sorry, my first alternate. My second alternate, which I picked just because he's
Can I just jump in about Epibarnrat? There was this super interesting video on him, and I don't know if this is what you're referring to, JDV, where he was showing how he hits these like low spinning wedge shots next to the green. What does he call it? The tar nipper.
The tar nipper or something like that, yeah.
Yeah, and it's I mean, Carl, not to put another like swing thought in your head like on the golf course, but like you should go and watch these videos, because he basically puts the ball like a foot behind his like back right foot, and he hits this what almost comes out like you think it's going to be like a bump and run next to the green, and it literally skids, like one skid, and it just this thing just like backspins, like stops like next to the hole, and it's almost like his signature shot, kind of like that shot that Rory hit at the Ryder Cup last year when he hit that crazy low. But yeah, it's worth looking at that content, that Appy Barnrat. That's his like speciality.
I thought Hoff did a couple of tie nippers out of the bunkers at Umco, but it was quite a bold move.
That's what I was going for, JDD. So I'm glad you picked that up.
So my next pick is the Argentine Alejandro Tosti. Super controversial player. He's coming into his own at the PGA Tour. He was on the Corn Ferry Tour. 46 in golf champs, 365 in data golf. He's fallen off a bit of a cliff. He was up to sort of 83 in the golf data rankings at the end of last year. He has shocking driving accuracy. He got penalized on one tournament he played because he rode a shuttle that he shouldn't have ridden or something from tee to green on the one hole. He also got into a big argument with Tony Finau in the one PGA Tour event because they didn't know who should putt and they didn't want to give each other the line. So that was awesome. Super awkward if you want to watch that. And then he also got disqualified from an event for what I did try and do a deep dive in, but it was just for disciplinary issues. And they said, we won't say anything further. We're dealing with this internally. Very fiery Argentinian player, super aggressive, just goes for everything. But yeah, so that's my next alternate is Alejandro Tosti. And then can I just do my last one and then you can comment on the three? My last one is Mito Pereira, Chilean golfer, pretty well known for. Sorry, he's 41. So I went on the noggin for my sort of the cap. 171st in data golf. He was a lot higher than that. He's also fallen off a cliff. Currently sitting 43rd out of 54 players on Live, so not having the greatest season in the world, but was obviously playing some pretty high-level golf on the PGA Tour and will be remembered for the 2022 PGA, where he had a one-shot lead going into 18 and then probably hit the squirreliest drive into the shit on the right and made a double bogey to come third, and then it was the Justin Thomas Zalatoris playoff. So yeah, I've said Mito Pereira, Alejandro Tosti, and Appy Barnrat. Those are my 41 to 60 picks.
So I don't know if you've heard that there's a lot of stories on Toasty that get passed around on a couple of other podcasts. Oak's got a bit of a spotlight on him, but the one story that really tickled me was apparently he's like a real miser when it comes to like, to his cash, and he thinks caddies are like a load of shit. He thinks they're like a stain on the game, and apparently he's been through like 9 caddies on the PGA Tour this year already. But the story was around the fact that he also thinks rental car companies are like the biggest scam in the world. So apparently what he's done, one of the first things he did when he won like a reasonable amount of money was he bought like 2 like super cheap, like basically like Fiat Uno type cars, and positioned them in like 2 locations in the US, which would allow him to basically like fly in and then only have like a 5 or 6 hour drive to like wherever his golf tournaments are. So he doesn't fly into a city and hire a car. He flies to where these rental cars are, and his own little Fiat cars, and yeah, he drives them. He's nobody's going to tell him that he has to hire his own car. So yeah, very interesting character. Your other pick, I've got no comments on. Sounds good. It's a tough scene. I thought you were going to maybe pick some proper no-namers there and bring us some like Chris Ventura.
Terence, I didn't have the time. I work a full-time job. I don't have time to Google random names and figure out who they are.
Okay, guys, I'm gonna go through mine very quickly. So my two honorables from rank 31 to 40. My two mentions that didn't make the top level of the podium, but is first is Thorborn Ollison. He has a pretty good course record, pretty good history at this course. He's had two top 20s here in the French Open. He also was in the European team that beats the USA in 2018. He only played 2 matches in that team, but he did win his singles match. He beat Jordan Spieth 5-4 on the Sunday. So, and Ollison is bringing a little bit of form in. He had a reasonable Open, and he's had a pretty steady run before then. So, definitely a mention. My other mention is an Italian. And that would be Matteo Manacero. I know in our Opens pick, I kind of threw him under the bus and said that he was a dome golfer. Turns out he can actually play in some pretty crappy weather that they had at Royal Troon. He kind of faded away. I think he only ended up finishing like top 40 somewhere. But yeah, Manacero's also had some good course history here. And yeah, he's bringing in some form. But guys, my pick in this slot is Guido Migliozzi. So Guido is an Italian, and guys, Guido has won 2 tournaments in the last 4 or 5 years. The one was the KML Open, which was about 2 months ago. Do you guys know what the other tournament was that he won?
Did he won the Kenya Open? Didn't he?
No, he did not win the Kenyan Open. He won the French Open, guys. He won the French Open at Le Golf National 2 years ago. So that's good enough for me. If you've won around this golf course, you know how to play it. I'll send you guys the link. He hits like probably one of the sickest shots ever under pressure into that 18th green at Le Golf National to win that tournament. And he's had a little bit of form as well coming in. So he made the cuts at the Open, made the cut at the Scottish. So Guido's my guy. Yeah, he was my pick out of those top. So I'm gonna pass it on to whoever's doing 21 to 30 now.
Firstly, Terence, stuff you. He did win the Kenya Open. He won it in 2019. I remember him winning it.
Okay, sorry. But he won the French Open since then.
I think it's because, Jacques, you didn't say the Magic Kenya Airways.
Magical Kenyan Open, exactly.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
But I just remember his last shot was like sick. He almost holed out on his last shot. He was like balling out hard there. It was like when he burst onto the scene. Sorry. Anyway.
Yeah, honestly, it's the fact that he wasn't in the European team and in Italy was a bit of a travesty. Like, he should have just been picked on Gears alone. All right. I think, Taki, you're up next.
Yeah, it's me. So I've got 21 to 30. Okay, so I'm going to do the same. I'm going to go the same way as you did, Teabag. I'm going to go with my honorable mentions, and then I'm going to go with my big pick. Okay, so honorable mentions in the 21 to 30 category. You're going to start with one of our Saffers. Got to give him a mention in there, Eric van Rooyen. He is 24th in he's ranked 24th on Golf Champs. I could not have picked him somewhere along the line. So Eric van Rooyen gets a mention. Look, recently, he's been there or thereabouts, just plugging away on the PGA Tour. 2 wins on the PGA Tour, 1 on the DP World Tour. So, he won. What sort of was the end of last year that he won in the fall series on the PGA Tour. So it's been a while, but I felt like I had to give him a mention. Then my other honorable mention is going to be Minwoo Lee, number 22. We're going to let him cook this week, I think. The Aussies, we know, have a very, very long history at the Olympic Games and a proud history at the Olympic Games. So hopefully Minwoo Lee can get the job done there along the way somewhere. Been in reasonable form lately, I think. Just looking at his data golf stats here, but he's also only won on the DP World Tour, 3 wins on the DP World Tour, but he gets a mention, and I think that he's got a I think he can come good, especially in this limited field event. So he's going to be my other honourable mention. And then, but my horse for this week, um, definitely not stats driven. This pick, given that he has been cut in all three of the majors that he's played this year, played in the PGA Championship, cut, US Open cut, and at the Open also cut. But he is a hometown favourite. So my man that I'm backing this week in the 21 to 30 category is Victor Perez. He's number
Don't do it.
27th on Golf Champs. So Victor Perez, please come.
Don't do it, Taki.
He's
Don't pick a Frenchman.
Yeah, he's going to get a back spasm when he
I
steals
got
a golf ball.
I got so burned by a Frenchman in the Open. Good luck out there, Taki.
We've gone with a
Okay.
I know they don't have a great history in general, the French. But we'll give him a shot. Come on.
I must say, Tucky, I like your Minwoo pick. I think
Yeah.
that's a good pick. I think he's got a little bit of something, a little bit of that Australian snap to him, and quite lekker that he's at the Olympics with his sister. She's representing Australia in the women's side. So, and she's been super successful. Like he's chasing her hard in terms of like successful careers. So I think he could be a good outside bet.
A bit of an issue.
Imagine how cool it would be if. Imagine how cool it would be if Minwoo Lee and his sister played like the teams mixed pairs format for the medal. That would be epic. I mean, it's nuts that there's none of that sort of variation, but I'm sure we'll get to that.
I feel like you're talking way too much sense there, JDV. I think it's just like it seems too obvious that should be something that they do.
I think. Yeah.
But I was looking at Minwoo Lee's driving stats.
Give us your picks, and then we can talk about the interesting stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So my three, I haven't looked at recent form at all for these three, and I'd like to keep it that way. So no comments on that, please. But mine are purely sort of heart picks and Ryder Cup based picks. So my first alternate, I've got to mention him. He's the only other Safa in the field. Tucky mentioned Eric van Rooyen, so it's C Bears, Christian Bezuidenhout. Could be a decent-ish course fit for him. He's not the longest hitter. He's pretty accurate. He's a flipping good putter. So it would be really nice from a South African point of view if we did a bit of a CT pan and got a bronze or a silver or something like that through C Bears. I would take Eric van Rooyen as well, of course, but I think it would be really nice to see Bezuidenhout up there. So he's my first alternate, and he's ranked 13 on Golf Champs. My second alternate is another player who's had some success at Le Golf National through the Ryder Cup. He wasn't amazing during that Ryder Cup, but he was pretty consistent, as he always is. Ranked 18, US Open winner a couple of seasons ago, or last year, or whenever it was. Matt Fitzpatrick is my second alternate. Again, not the longest hitter, but super accurate. Reminds me a lot of how Jacques plays, just like annoyingly gets the ball on the fairway and then annoyingly gets the ball on the green and then, finds a way to make a putt, looking a bit like clown. So he's my second alternate.
Just a quick drive by.
And then my actual pick, my sort of show pony for the week. And again, I know that he's had a better season than he's had over the last few years, but it's still not an amazing season from what he's had when he really had some good success and got himself onto the Ryder Cup team for that Le Golf National Ryder Cup, beating Bryson DeChambeau in the last match, sort of throwing his cap on the floor and having quite a big celebration, is the Swede. He's ranked 14, and that's Alex Noren. Again, not like a huge driver of the golf ball, but he's had success there in terms of that Ryder Cup. Decent-ish season, and this one is very much not a head pick, but a heart pick, not particularly because I love Alex Noren, but there's just something about this that makes me feel good, and that comes from someone who's almost come last in Golf Champs for probably the last three editions. So take that as you will. So yeah, that's my three: Christian Bezuidenhout and Matt Fitzpatrick as my alternates, and then Alex Noren as my show pony.
So, Hoff, I don't know if you know, but Alex Noren actually won the French Open at Le Golf National in 2018.
Okay.
So,
Yeah.
solid pick. And his other finishes there have been a T10 and a T18. So, yeah,
Didn't he do quite
pretty
well
good
at the
course
Magical
fits as
Kenya
well.
Open? He also did well at the Kenya Open as well. So
Yeah, sorry, I'm just like, of course, I've got that in my history. Maybe there's a link here. Maybe like guys are sleeping on the fact that there's some symbiotic relationship between like the two courses. You know, well, I'll have to look into that. Magical Kenya Open. Oh, it's not on here. It's always been called the Magical Kenya
clearly our
Open.
mole there.
Yeah, listen, Jacques, you and I don't know who else is watching the Kenyan Open, but yeah, nice off. Guys, just quick round the table. Top 10. Who do you guys like? I'm gonna just throw it out there. I'm feeling a little bullish on. I actually like Ludwig this week. I know he missed the cuts at the Open, but yeah, so did a whole bunch of other guys. And I think Ludwig's driving, his supreme sort of driving golf ball skills on this golf course, I think are going to be pretty deadly. So yeah, he's my pick in the top 10.
I've got John Rahm. Won last week on Live, played nicely at the Open. So John Rahm is he's my top 10 pick for this week.
JDB?
So I'm going to go with Mr. Rory McIlroy. I think he's flip flopped on a lot of things. Bing had an absolute rant to me saying, "How the hell can this oak be playing for Ireland and not Great Britain?" Rory did say in 2012 he feels more Great Britain than Ireland, but then plays for Ireland. So Hoff, yeah, he's done a lot of changing of his mind, but he's always played his golf for Ireland, which is why he's donning the Irish colours. I don't think there's a lot of on the line for him here. A gold medal, I think, would be something good to salvage from this year for him after, probably should have won a major. I think he's going to be playing pretty freely out there. So I've gone with Rory.
Nice. Okay.
JDV, I must say, I always love your top 10 pick because you always bring someone who I least expect. And I appreciate that from you. Thank you.
John Rahm did well last time, though.
I know. It's there's something to it. You picked Bryson at the Masters. He wasn't even in the top 10.
Let's hope this one doesn't
still
apply.
picked him. He was like,
we don't want to flip.
Okay, Hoff, what have you?
I'm going to continue the Le Golf National Ryder Cup kind of leaning in my pick. It's a player that really probably his standout performance where he had been around for a long time, but he really burst onto the scene in that Ryder Cup and became a world-class player. It's where the Mollywood sort of relationship came out and all of that with Francesco Molinari. So I'm going with Tommy Fleetwood. Accurate hitter, not long, big success at that course in terms of the Ryder Cup. So yeah, and he is my actual show pony for my Golf Champs team. So yeah, holding thumbs.
Yeah, I like that pick.
Looks like we've lost Saki. Totally. He's the course fit is like off the charts for Fleetwood. Guess it's just a case of what is the state of his game because it didn't look great at the Open. And I remember watching him and he was playing in some of the easier conditions on the one day, and he was just didn't look right.
Terence,
guys,
can I quickly just say, can we quickly just run through what our actual picks for Golf Champs are? The four that we picked. I'm happy to go first. I've got mine open, yeah. So even though I've just spoken up Rory McIlroy, my picks were John Rahm, Jason Day, David Puig, and Mido Pereira are my 4. And it's a unique pick, surprisingly.
So is mine. I've gone Tommy
So-
Fleetwood, Adrian Maronk, Minwoo Lee, and David Puig.
Yeah, that's sweet. I think that's good. I think Maronk's a good pick off.
T-Bag?
Okay, interesting. Well, I've gone with welcome back, Taki. I've gone with a full European flavor in my side. So I have gone with John Rahm, Thomas Dietrich, Matteo Manacero, and Guido.
Yes,
So yeah, a couple of Italian stallions there,
You're riding hard for Italy there.
big time. Taki, who's your 4 players in your Golf Champs team, or are you still picking?
No, I think I've settled on my team. I've gone with Scotty Scheffler. I've gone with Matt Fitzpatrick, Matteo Manacero, and Sammy Valimaki. He's my last pick. Had to get me up to that number 100, and he was the lowest player I could pick. So I've gone with him.
But
Was he-
I love
were you
this.
a-
was
I
yours
love
a
this
unique
challenge.
pick?
Yeah, he's from Finland. Yeah, Finland.
Taki, was yours unique?
I think so. I didn't say that I shared my pick with anyone.
I think this is awesome, though. I think
Listen,
the challenge of trying to get this 100 is probably like the
Getting
most
to
fun
that
I've had
mark.
trying to get a team together. You know, it's
Yeah.
flipping lekker because you choose someone at the top
Yeah.
and you're like, oh shit, you know, I don't have like even a number 60 to go for yet.
I couldn't agree with you more, Hoff. And you know what's so funny is that every single time you make it difficult, Oaks are going to get outraged. Just like some of the comments when Tiger Woods was ranked in Golf Champs. I just want to read you this one. Oak. He just writes, "This is crazy. If one wants to choose rank 1 and 2, then you're forced to choose rank 60 and 37 to get to 100. There are already many of this exact choosing. Because there are only 60 golfers to choose from, the total rank should be 70 to 80, surely." And you're just like, no, really, that's the whole point, is that you do have to pick 2 shit players.
It sounds like the same
me.
guy who was losing his mind in the Open that Tiger was ranked 25th.
Yeah, you're like, come on, Oak.
Yeah.
Maybe don't
What's
pick
also
1 and
nice
2.
about this? What's also nice about this is that there's no cut. So you know, essentially, it's a long haul with your 4 ponies. You know, so it's going to be it's going to be quite an interesting like 4-day sort of comp if you've got some internal comps going. Because you could have one of your guys like come from deep down the field to have a decent finish. So talking about cuts and no cuts and that, guys, we are now playing a 4-day Stableford tournaments at the Olympics, essentially the same golf that we play every other week. What are your thoughts on that? Why are we doing this? What are we doing? Why are we playing golf at the Olympics as a starting point? Would be my question. But let's maybe separate these into 2 components. Give me some better formats that this could have been done in, and then let's maybe discuss secondly, like whether or not golf should even be there. So I'm gonna open it up to the floor. I'm gonna start off by saying I don't think there should be any individual golf at the Olympics. I personally think the only format they should have is a team format, and I think there's lots of different ways to structure that. But you can take individual golf away from me. Thanks. I don't need it.
I'm going to
Yeah,
let
I
Hoff
agree.
cook for a bit because Hoff I know has got strong opinions, but I couldn't agree with you more, Terence.
Yeah, I agree as well. I think for me, the format's got to be match play. It can be team match play. I'm not too phased about the individual part of it. I think you could have an individual match play knockout. You could have a team match play knockout with 2, and then you could have a mixed male-female match play knockout. But I think it has to be match play. It has to be either like the old Volvo World Match Play, where it's directly knockout, lose your match, go home kind of thing. Or you could do it like the old Accenture match play on the PGA Tour, where you have a little group of sort of 3 teams, and you need to, you know, you get a point for a win and a half for a half, and the top top team goes through kind of thing, which is quite nice if you do it that way, because it kind of falls into like they do the sevens, where you get to play for the medals and then you get to play for places. So you get an actual leaderboard of sorts from one all the way down to the last, which I quite like. But for me, it's got to be in one of those categories of match play. Quite happy with the individual, but there has to be team elements to it. There just has to be. I mean, a 4-day event, as you say, T-Bag, that we get every single week, again and again and again. And to Tucky's point earlier, it is an exhibition. You know, they're not getting any money. You know, it's for the glory of playing for your country, for playing for medals. You know, what better opportunity than to have. You know, they don't have a World Cup in golf. They used to, and it kind of fell away. And this was the opportunity to revive that and kill two birds with one stone. So I'm sort of on the fence with the second question, which I think we'll get to, of whether golf should be in the Olympics. But the fact that it is, I think they've missed a huge opportunity. And I think John Rahm even made comments this week about the fact that they've sort of lost out on the team element. So for me, it's got to be match play. There's got to be some kind of team, and there's got to be some kind of mixed event. I think that would be epic.
If I can jump in here, I think the one thing that I take away from this whole thing is they're just incredibly lazy. They've just said, oh, you know what? We've got golf in here. Let's just do what we do on a weekly basis. Everyone will be happy. Some guys will and girls will go home with medals, and the rest will just carry on to next week and carry on their respective tours. If you've seen what basketball have done, they've brought in the 3 versus 3 element that's also at the Olympics. That just shows you that there's a little bit of sort of foresight and a bit of planning, and they've said, okay, listen, full basketball might not be for everyone, but here we go. Here's an alternative. So it just seems like it's the powers that be in golf have just gone with the status quo and just said, you know what, let's just do what we do, and they haven't actually given it any thought. And that's I get a feeling that's why golf probably wasn't at the Olympics for all those many bloody hundreds of years, however long it was, because it wasn't appealing. There was no appeal to it. And I feel like if they don't change it as soon as possible, it's going to lose that appeal, and it's probably going to get dropped. It's at the LA Games. They're playing at LACC. But going forward, there's going to be far more exciting sports and far more international sports that are appealing that people are going to want to watch. They're not going to want to watch 4 rounds of stroke play golf. And Hoff says you've got to have that team element, match play, whether it's even like a shootout. I don't know, you play like 9 holes or something like that. Like you've got to make it exciting. You've got to bring in a whole bunch of other elements in order to sort of bring people that wouldn't necessarily watch golf at the Olympic Games to watching golf at the Olympic Games. I know I'm probably speaking to the converted almost here, but like there's got to be a big shift in what they do with golf. And I don't know how they're going to sort of trial that and where they're going to trial that, but it's got to somehow they've got to look at sort of 2032 and say, okay, this is where we're going to go, and this is how we're going to play the golf, and we're going to trial it for a few years before, and then this is how it's going to be rolled out. Don't know what I think.
Yeah, I think if I can come in.
I just think that. Sorry, JDV, jump in.
So I was going to say I agree with you, Taki. I mean, for me, I think we all pretty much agree there's got to be something different, and for me, it's got to be the pinnacle of the sport. That's sort of why soccer, tennis, the rest of it, even basketball to an extent, it's not an Olympic gold is not the pinnacle of those sports. Whereas in athletics and swimming, table tennis, diving, even beach volleyball, it's like getting an Olympic gold is the top thing in your sport. Whereas in golf, you've got the FedEx Cup and the majors and a Ryder Cup and a President's Cup. Honestly, and I'm not trying to just be controversial here, like a long drive competition in the Olympics would be more entertaining from the sense that the guys are actually playing for something that's the pinnacle of that competition. To have an Olympic long drive and saying, epic. Okay, this is an Olympic sport. And, the gold medal is going to go to ever. And we've got South African oaks who are long drive like contenders, which would be epic.
Okay, yeah.
But the other thing I wanted to say is that it doesn't need to be the professionals playing. You know, I agree with what Leighton said about amateurs playing the events. Again, if we're talking about it being the pinnacle of the sport, imagine guys trying to keep their amateur status so that they could try and get an Olympic gold medal. You know, and the Olympics was built, as you said, on amateur sports. I mean, back in the day, 1912, Jim Thorpe got a gold medal for the pentathlon and decathlon and got his medal stripped away from him because they found out he played one semi-pro baseball match. So that's the extent that they wanted to keep sport amateur at that stage. And I mean, obviously, when they've seen the corporate marketing, aspect of the Olympics, of getting these big names in here, they've tried to entice the professionals. And again, I think you're probably enticing more professionals with a 72-hole stroke play than you are with maybe some sort of an outshot mixed team event or whatever. But I mean, if you just said, right, we actually don't want the professional golfers to come here. We want to make it the pinnacle of amateur golf. We're going to make it a team event. There's going to be a men's, there's going to be a ladies, and there's going to be a mixed. It's going to be match play. I would absolutely tune in for that. And I mean, you would absolutely elevate all of those amateur players. It would be the biggest stage that they play on, playing for a medal, keeping their status to get that medal. I think it's a no-brainer.
But JDV, so like you say, like you got to entice the guy, like the professional golfers with like a 72-hole event. But like, I think these guys legitimately just go there because of it's like an awesome experience to be part of. Like I'm talking about the top 30 odd Oaks because it's an awesome experience. They're like rubbing shoulders with like other Olympic athletes, and they want to win like a medal for their country. Like, so, you know, I think that they should be totally leaning into the team component. Obviously, far more. Like we don't need to flog that horse anymore. But I'm totally on board with you, JDV, in terms of like any events in the Olympics. The question has to be: is it like the pinnacle of the sport? Like football? Like let's get it out. You know, tennis. Like even the sevens rugby, Oaks, it's gone. You know, there's so many. There's so many other like sports that could be represented in that space, and I love the call on a long drive golf. That's a sick idea. That's great. I mean, there's breakdancing. Like for fuck's sakes. I mean, come on, we could have long drive golf. I mean, but yeah, I think it's a real whiff. That they took so long to try and get golf back in, and then this is what they present to like the rest of the world. Like I would rather watch the Oaks like canoeing down that river with like the one paddle trying to go through the gates than like watch Oaks like hit a golf ball for 4 days. Yeah. You know, 72-hole stroke play. Like, you know, half the field after 2 days are going to be totally disengaged because who cares if I come 60th or if I come 25th. I mean, it's not going to make any difference. Well, whereas if you've got a team component,
maybe they can do something outrageous. Maybe they could do something outrageous like 3 days no cut and shotgun starts. I mean, something like that could maybe.
That's why John Rahm said he wanted the team. John Rahm said he wanted the team event. It's like a paid for ad. But
I was about to. He wanted to wear his Legion 13 kit. That's why.
But that's like, it's kind of tongue in cheek, right? But at least in the live formats, the Oku's playing 40th, coming 40th or whatever, his score, like what he does on that day, is still important, you know. And then that's kind of the, like, you know, that's something that they have got right. You know, I think I agree with Saki. Like I think they could have come up. You could come up with such a. I mean, I've thought of a whole bunch of different formats ideas. Like I think they should have the men and the women like playing kind of not against each other, but like you could almost have the match play on simultaneously. So you could have like a men's match and then behind it like a women's match, and because the thing with match play is sometimes you get these big blowouts and matches become uninteresting. But well then you can just focus on the matches that are tight and which are going down the line. And yes, like it's just such a great opportunity. And Half, I love your mention of the World Cup of Golf, because I remember watching that. Like I remember watching like Ernie and even like Trevor Immelman, I think won it once. I think he actually won it with Rory Sabatini, funnily enough.
He did.
Which is so funny. That Sabatini's won a World Cup of Golf and an Olympic medal for two different countries. But yeah, look, honestly, kind of don't think it should be there. But if it is there, like let's get like an interesting a team type event going. I think Hoff, you probably were kind of on the right track with. I don't think just like a pure knockout is probably the way to go. I think maybe like a pool setup, maybe a bit like the sevens, whatever it is, a bit like the hockey. You want guys to have at least 2 or 3 matches, or maybe even get a bit crazy with it. Maybe you play 9-hole matches. Maybe play like
in the pool.
maybe play
Play
like
9 holes in the
6
pool.
9-hole matches. And that's how you decide your pool, and then you go to like 18-hole matches or whatever. Like they could have literally done anything to make it more interesting than what it is.
No, I mean, there are so many different ways that they could do it, and in its current form, I agree it shouldn't be there, but I think that it is lacquer that it's there, and like you say, that it's a huge whiff. They've missed such an opportunity. I mean, they could have done alternate shot, men and ladies. There's just so many different things that they could have done. Like you say, 9 holes. The long drivers obviously would be a separate kind of thing, but I think that would be awesome as well. It's like Tucky, like you said, it's just so flippin' lazy. Like they've taken all the effort, gone through all the criteria, put all their committees together to get this thing on the flippin' on the biggest stage in terms of the Olympics, and they just absolutely. I mean, what they've done, Jacques, is they've hit that tee shot that I hit on the 8th at Cotswold. They've hit the tee from underneath the ball, and the ball's just landed in its spot. It's just such a fucking mess. It's terrible. It's such a missed opportunity, and it's so disappointing. But that being said, we've got 2 Oaks in there, and we'll hope for the best to add to the medal tally.
I'll tell you,
So,
if they win a medal, we're going to be saying that this is the best
format.
event in golf. So that's right.
So I did want to say just quickly in defense of, or not defense, I mean, I want to just give the reason why it's 72-hole stroke play is because they've said, look, they want to pick the format that identifies the best golfer. So that was their reasoning behind 72-hole stroke play. But the logic is completely flawed because you've already excluded a lot of the best golfers with the qualification criteria. And you've got 3-man flipping basketball where, like they clearly are happy to mix up formats and types of sports and exclude certain people. So I don't buy that argument that 72-hole stroke play is the reason that they're playing it in the Olympics is because they want to identify the best golfer in that sport's sort of determination of how to figure out what the best golfer is. So I thought I'd better just throw it out there as to what the explanation was, why they do it that way, but the logic doesn't flow from it.
No, the explanations are shit as the
100%.
format.
I was thinking about this notion of, and you hear these guys talking about like, they're like rubbing shoulders with, other Olympians, and for these like let's say the top 20 or 30 in that field. That's kind of the main reason they're there. And of course they want to, maybe they want to win an Olympic medal. But it kind of reminds me of like, it feels like it kind of goes against the spirit of like, of the Olympics, in that it's like almost like these original athletes come from like quite like sort of humble, a lot of them have got like very humble kind of backgrounds and that. And it's almost like the, like the CEO sleep out that they do in South Africa, where like all the CEOs go and like kind of rough it for like a night, in like, in like sleeping bags in like downtown, like Joburg CBD. And, it feels like this is kind of what these like top 20 golfers are doing. They're like, yeah, it's so cool in the Olympic Village. We like
slept on a cardboard bed,
sat in the canteen. Yeah, we like sat in the canteen, and we like, fuck, it was really like, we just so cool to hear these like stories. And then like at the end of the Olympics, it's like the guys are like, hey, what are you doing next week? You're like, oh no, I'm going to go play for $20 million at my next tournament. Like, what are you doing? Oh no, I'm going back to teaching my high school class.
Do they
cool? It was nice to meet you.
Do they actually stay in the Olympic Village, like the top guys, the top guys?
Yes, I hope so.
On those cardboard beds.
I don't know. I mean, one of the biggest travesties of this Olympics is that Bryson isn't there, because we would be getting like so much content coming out of Bryson from the Olympic Village. I mean, it would be amazing. So
Can you imagine Bryson participating as America's person in the long drive Olympic Games? I mean, shit, that would be absolute quality.
yeah, no, it'd be amazing. Very good question. We I don't know. We don't have. I don't know. Do we know anyone there? Do we know any caddies there? I'm sure some of those guys on the lower end of the golf field are definitely staying in the Olympic Village.
Yeah, I'm talking about like the Shefflins.
Alejandro Tosti is definitely staying in the Olympic Village.
He
he's
drove his
getting
Uno there
as
from
much free shit as he
London.
could.
I know that at the Tokyo Olympics, a lot of the guys, if not all of the guys, didn't stay in the Olympic Village, but that was more because the course was so far away from where everything else was happening. I'm not 100% sure. I haven't seen any videos on the gram of Oaks giving us a tour of their room or their cardboard bed or anything like that, which is, pretty much what you get with all the other athletes. So yeah, I mean, I could imagine like Seabears and Eric van Rooyen maybe in the Olympic Village, but I'm not so sure about the exciting Xander Schauffele and Scotty Scheffler and the boys.
I think literally they probably do a one night, they do like the CEO sleep out, like they probably do like the opening ceremony and then have a bit of a jaw with the Oaks. And yeah, we like, yes, we are staying here, like wink wink, like they put like a double, like a blow up doll in their bed or something, just like make it look
their bodyguard actually sleeps in the cardboard bed.
Yeah, I just think it's hilarious. It just speaks to the joke of it being in the Olympics, like
in its
like
current form.
It's it feels like a little bit of a slap in the face to the other athletes. That's kind of how I feel about it. Guys, is there anything else you need to get off your chest? We've actually spoken for a hell of a lot longer than I thought we would.
I've got two things. The first one is, I don't know if anyone noticed, I'm wearing my canary yellow, which is in support of the SA golfers. I don't know if you've seen what their kit looks like. Yeah, it's not exactly the green and gold. It's more the gold than the green. So yeah, I don't know if anyone's got thoughts on the. So I've got two questions. What your thoughts on the SA kits are, the golf kits, and then my second one is a bit more of a brain teaser. Do you think guys would rather have an SA Open, and particularly the South Africans? Do you think they'd rather have an SA Open or a Olympic medal?
Look, I think on the kits, I think you must just be careful on that one photo. A, I think that could have been a practice kit, and B, I don't think they wear the same kit for 4 days.
Not dry to make.
I think no. I think there will be some green in there. Yeah, I'll hand over to Tucky on the second question.
No, you have to give an answer off. It's
I'm off.
Flip. I think for now, maybe the SA Open. But I think if the Olympics could make some changes and make it more prestigious, maybe that would change. Just because there's the SA Open in terms of like money and that has just fallen off the charts. It's fallen off the end of the world. But for South Africans, it's still a big one to win. So I would say.
So that's why I went with that question, because it isn't like a big money thing. It's like, what's more prestigious in terms of the honor of winning it? Is it an Olympic medal for golf, or is it like the SA Open as a South African?
Look, as Tucky says, if Seabears wins an Olympic medal, then we might change our opinion on that very quickly. But for now, I'm going to say SA Open.
Or Rory Sabatini is one.
Well, I would say, if you sort of comparing strength of field, yes, now just thinking about it, I don't know, because if you take the whole field in the Olympics, you have obviously a really top quality sort of top end, and then it sort of filters down and gets really diluted when you get to the back end. Whereas like an SA Open field is obviously on the DP World Tour and the Sunshine Tour, so like, is it as strong when you take the top percentage of that field? So I don't know. I think like if I beat Scotty Scheffler and won an Olympic gold medal, um, and I can only play it every 4 years, as opposed to playing in the S Open every year, having a chance, I
Yeah,
might go with an Olympic medal. If it's a
that's,
bronze, probably not. But if it's a gold or a silver, even, I'd probably go with that.
that's very valid.
Yeah, I agree. I think bronze that trade for an SA Open, but maybe not a gold or a silver. I think there's a fine line there. Taki, what are your views on our golfers wearing bright yellow?
Guys, surely, surely we know that that yellow is not our color. That's the Australians wear yellow. We wear gold or green, just green. I don't know anything else. It seems like we just pick it up all the time. Like, come on.
I think
It
the
just yeah.
cricket the
I don't
cricketers
know.
seem to fuck it up the most.
I almost want us to start leaning away from like the green and gold a little bit and lean a little bit more into like our South African flag, you know? So like give me some like super funky like African prints on those shirts with like, you know, with a bit of vibe of our flag. You know, give me that. Like let's get a bit weird with it. Like this, yeah, like bright yellow is not it. Like and plain green is not really it either. But
So you're
yeah.
talking about like
Hope,
the red cricket kit that the Australians put South Africa in the
Remember
VB
that.
series in like 1997 or whatever it was. Like so freaking outraged about it.
You still remember that kit though. That's the other thing.
Yeah, yeah, red and green, predominantly red.
The the thing that's strange is if you sort of look at our flag, the yellow is the smallest part, and we
Yeah,
seem to lean into that so much, which is a bit bizarre. Um, like today, just for an example, I thought it was pretty cool. The triathletes on the back of their tri suits, they had the flag, so it was actually quite cool. So when they were swimming, you could see the South African swimmers because they had the flag on the on their backs. Just a bit of an aside, which I thought was quite sharp. So they have the ability to come up with good ideas, but they don't seem to use them in all of our sports.
but I think even the general like kit throughout the Olympics of the South African guys, like even the green, it's like super dark green. It's almost like
Yeah.
Pakistani green, you know. Um, it's like we're not that dark green, you know. Like give us a little bit more color, like you say, teabag. Like give us a little bit more like standout ability. But look, we've had worse years. I mean, we had that year at the Olympics where we had like the biggest tracksuits ever. We looked like
Yeah, the
Teenage Mutant
tracksuits
Ninja
didn't fit.
Turtles. I mean, that was
It's Mario.
that was shocking. That was
That was
terrible.
brilliant. Remember those two rowers when they got the gold medal and they were sitting up there? The Oaks looked like parachutes.
No, but I mean, that was one size fits all. So I mean, some of the swimmers like Chad de Clos went up there. I mean, it was absolutely ridiculous. It was insane. But you know, to your point, Tucky, I mean, we still remember it. So maybe that's better than what we got now.
Guys, I would be remiss if we've spoken a hell of a lot about the men's golf game, but of course we also have two female golfers playing in the field. We have Ashley Buhai and Paula Rito. Honestly, it could be an argument to make that Ashley Buhai is probably our best chance, like of a
Yeah,
medal. To be
agreed.
honest, based on like her form over the last sort of 2 to 3 years. So, kind of maybe a sneaky course fit for her. She's a very, very good iron player. It's just kind of all about, I think, with her, like kind of a bit about her putting. So yeah, keep a lookout for that. I think the ladies is only next week, so that'll be kind of on the back end of the Olympics. But honestly, the ladies competition potentially maybe more interesting than the men's. I think that golf course actually is kind of better suited towards like ladies golf. I think it's going to be hopefully be some good viewing. I'll probably literally will be watching the last like 8 holes of both events. But gentlemen, did not think we would talk for an hour and 25 minutes on Olympic golf. But we did need to hear about US Leighton's gripes with with the world in general. So it was important that we got those out. But Taki, thanks very much for joining us again. Thank you to Hoff. Thank you to JDV.
Okay, guys.
And we will be back in about 2 weeks, just to give you a little preview. we did a little mini golf trip down the south coast last weekend, and we have going to be doing a podcast, releasing a podcast on our thoughts on the golf courses that we visited, particularly Mdoni Park. So that will be out in a couple of weeks. But until then, see you later. Ciao, ciao.